Good morning, everyone. It's Friday morning, and we start off this soon-to-be weekend with a very interesting webinar about smart points of interest and its applications in Africa. So my name is Bente Lilja. I'm one of the co-organizers of these webinars, obviously, and the Nairobi Inspire Hackathon. Today we have Uta here, and before we start, and so that people can, we give people some time to get on this webinar room, we will do some weather report. This is a signature of my webinars. So here we go. Uta, can you tell us what kind of weather you have and where you are?
Hello, everybody. I'm in Pilsen, Czech Republic, and I think that we have quite nice weather.
Meaning not rain, right?
Not rain, sunny, and about 10 degrees Celsius.
A lovely spring weather. And the same here where I am. I'm in Norway, just outside Oslo. We have beautiful spring weather. The snow is melting, so you almost can see it disappears minute by minute. So the spring is definitely here. With that, we would like to encourage you to engage with us. This is a webinar where we want to have some exchange of questions and comments. So before I let Uta introduce you to Smart Point of Interest and the topic of the team, I will explain to you how you can use this room. So some housekeeping. You have a chat box. I already wrote welcome to you there. So if you want to ask questions as they come to your mind, please write it in the chat box. So Uta will first give a short introduction to a Smart Point of Interest. We will take a break so you can ask questions to that if you have questions to it. And then Uta will present some ideas for the hackathon itself. And at the end, you will also be able to ask questions and comment and what have you. There are two ways for you to engage. Runar is here. Welcome, Runar. There are two ways of engaging with us here. We can actually invite you into the room. You need to then raise your hands. You see there's an icon where you can raise your hand, and we can invite you in. However, you need to have something like this, so a headset, a webcam, and a Chrome and a good internet connection. But if you have that, we are going to invite you in if you want to comment by speaking rather than writing. So with that, Uta, we will end this in about 30 minutes, just so you have an idea how long this webinar will be. Uta, I'm excited to hear about smart points of interest.
Okay.
The floor is yours.
So,
so we will turn off our cameras also, but we will disappear again. We will reappear again after the presentation. Can you turn off your camera as well, Uta? There you go. We are ready. Did you turn off your sound as well, Uta? We can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So, just a few words or a few numbers about Smart Point of Interest. So, Smart Point of Interest is the open data set of point of interest of various types, such as point of interest important for tourism, such as hotels, such as restaurants, such as beaches, and I don't know what else. And also a point of interest for example, transportation or environment protection, and so on. Now we have more than 30 million point of interest over the whole world, and the number is still increasing. we have more than 33,000 point of interest in Kenya. You can see the special distribution of point of interest in Kenya, and you can see that these points are located mainly in urbanized areas, mainly in national parks, and along important roads. How we are collecting the data for smart points of interest. We have more than 40 local and global data resources. Of course, it is necessary to use only open data resources, because we provide smart point of interest as an open data. We use global data resources such as OpenStreetMap, geonames.org, or Nature Earth, and we have many small or local data providers from Czechia, from Latvia, from Germany, Italy, Belgium, and other countries. The example of these local data providers are, for example, the city of Antwerpen, or the Zemgale region in Latvia, or some other cities and regions. We use one uniform data model, which has several components, such as identifier, feature metadata for each point, for each data record, classification with reference to SPOI ontology, which includes the classification scheme or classification tree for smart point of interest. The data also contains contact information, coordinates, identity relations to other databases such as DBpedia and so on. There are also topological relations, for example, to relevant countries, and links for some other materials or other resources, for example, links to Wikipedia pages, links to home pages of various organizations, and so on. Number 5, it means that we publish smart point of interest as a 5-star linked open data. This approach includes using URIs as identifiers, using open license. We publish our data under open database license. Our data are primarily in RDF format, but we are able to export the data to some CSV, XML, and so on. I mentioned that there are many links to external resources. The links are connected with the 5th star of this link open data approach. And we use many existing, respected, and well-known vocabularies, such as SCOS, such as web ontology language, and so on. It is important from the perspective of interoperability of our data. We have one access point for smart point of interest. You can see the URI. The web page smart point of interest contains the map client based on HS layers library. link to Spark endpoint, where you can select and download any data you want. Different types of documentation, for example, harmonization scheme, data model, description of resources, and so on. And of course, there are also contact information to SPOI developers. We think that Smart Point of Interest has many benefits. These benefits follows common data model, existing standards, linked open data approach, and using Spark endpoint to select any data. I think that from the view of business based on a Smart Point of Interest, it is possible to see benefits such as saving money, promotion of some, for example, tourism business, promotion of some region or territory. You are able to develop any application and services dealing with Smart Point of Interest, because, as I mentioned, Smart Point of Interest are open, and you can also share this data and combine Smart Point of Interest with your data. I think it's all about the short introduction of Smart Point of Interest data. You can contact me in any channel you can see now, and of course visit our webpage sdi4apps.eu/SPOI. So it's all for now. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Uta. Very, very interesting and informative. I will repeat our request and encouragement to ask questions to this part of the webinar, where your questions to the Smart Point of Interest. Can you turn on your camera as well so we see you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can turn, but I had to arrange my windows on the desktop.
No, yeah. You. It looks like we are in contact, Uta.
Yeah.
So I have a question for the team here. For those who want to work with smart open data, do you need to know the technology behind? It was linked open data, right? That you are. Yeah. So do you need to have any knowledge about that technology to be a part of this team?
First, I think that linked open data is not technology. It is a common approach, how to deal with data, how to work with data. And I don't think that it is necessary to know it, because for me, there are common benefits or advantages of this approach following the conditions of linked open data publishing, such as independent format, such as open license, such as persistent identifier using the common format URI. Yeah, so I think that anybody can work with linked open data if he or she is able to work on internet.
Yeah, that goes for most of us. So that's good news. You mentioned, of course, for in this case, we are talking about using this tool for Africa and applications in Africa, and of course, being all about opens up a lot of opportunities. But I guess we will go deeper into what kind of opportunities you are, some ideas on how we are going to use it in the next phase now. I'm looking here to see if there are any questions or anybody raising their hands, and I don't see that. So I think, Uta, that you can continue and present your ideas on how we can use this for Africa, and then take it from there. We will be able to discuss and ask questions after your presentations of ideas as well. So I think I'll give the floor to you again, Uta.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll have
So, can you hear me and can you see the presentation?
Yes, indeed. Both hear and see. Go ahead.
Okay. So, this presentation will be very short, and I would like to show some ideas for Hackathon and for the future development of SPOI. First of all, I want to recommend that the longer version of this presentation, or longer document containing the same information as this presentation, is accessible through share web space of Team 7 of the Nairobi Inspire Hackathon, and you can find also in this shared space also some other presentation and documentation about SPOI. So, ideas. What do we need for SPOI? We need new data. So I think that the essential topic of the development of the work during the Nairobi Inspire Hackathon should be the detection of new open data resources in Africa. And I think that we should concentrate mainly on local data, because as I presented in the previous presentation, the map of the Kenya with smart point of interest, the points in Kenya are mainly from OpenStreetMap and geonames.org. There are only 2 points from more than 33,000 coming from other resource, and it was 2 airports from Natural Earth. Yeah? So we need to detect and process new local data resources in Africa. It is connected with text mining of African data. I think that with this idea came Karel Harvat with in cooperation with Nubit company. So it will be other task for the hackathon, and it is necessary to process all newly collected data. So we need to design the harmonization processes. We need to develop harmonization scripts or ETL pipelines. And it is necessary also to validate and evaluate these new data by various methods. And there is also the very complicated problem of SPOI. We try to solve it more than 2 years, and it is connected with data cleaning, with the detection of duplicities, with the detection of wrong data. So this is also other task for the hackathon from the perspective of new data. We also need new ontology, because we would like to reconstruct of existing SPOI ontology, which is the only one classification scheme of the SPOI data. We would like to develop the new ontological model. We would like to interconnect our ontology more to existing semantic tools and resources, such as other ontologies, thesauri, and so on. And we want also to improve on inheritance of general types of object to the smart point of interest data. The third group of possible tasks for Hackathon is connected with new applications and services. The first one is this smart point of interest visualization. There could be many different approaches and principles how to visualize these big data. We would like to use heat maps, clustering principles, some algorithm for prioritization of smart point of interest during the visualization. We want to test big data tools. We can test dynamic visualization, filtering, and so on. There are also some small examples how to use smart point of interest in some other applications. For example, websites using smart point of interest. In the next slide, you will see the example developed in the Peregrinus Silva Bohemica project. We also want to develop some mobile applications for presenting smart point of interest in the surroundings of the user. These applications could be connected with some recommendation, with some validation principles. I think in the hackathon 2 years ago, there was developed a prototypes smart tourism guide. You can also see some screenshot example, and the last point connected to new application. It is connected with it is related to landing pages and SEO optimization. I think it is task mainly for Runar or Karar Harvat, and they will be able to explain anything about this task. Now some example. So this is very simple web page with some local sites processed in the project Peregrinus Silva Bohemica. All of these sites, chapels, churches, and I don't know what else, are stored as smart point of interest and presented in this web page. This is the example of smart tourism guide, mobile application, you or searching and visualizing smart point of interest based on localization of the user. This is other example, visualization by big data tools. I don't know the right name of this tool, but we have available the final thesis of one student from the Czech Republic who test big data tools and used smart point of interest as a data resource for this testing. And the last one is dynamic visualization, showing and filtering in the real time the smart point of interest. This example is from Riga, and I think it was developed during the Riga Hackathon, also maybe 2 years ago. The last one is the last one change or last one opportunity is connected to business. I think we need to define target groups of smart point of interest, try to develop some processing scheme, how to use and of course how to connect and process the smart point of interest, and how to promote smart point of interest to developers, to real users, and so on. and it is also connected with development of business models for each type of the role in the smart point of interest process. So it was very short, and I think that during the hackathon we start to solve many tasks and problems which I presented, but we are also open for other tasks and other ideas, other comments, and other problems which we can cooperate in. In the last presentation, I forgot to mention the Polyvisa project, which is supported smart point of interest as well as this hackathon. So it's all from me for now.
Yeah, thank you, Uta. Indeed, there's many different opportunities to follow here in this hackathon. I think that in my view, it's a question of so transforming and make benefit or use the fact that we have experience from using this in Europe and apply that on the African continent. And we need, of course, the local people to tell us what would be an interesting application, an interesting area where this could be used. So it's a very good opportunity for collaboration between Africa and Europe, in the spirit in the East Africa Conference. So before, I guess that the team with the members from Africa really need to tell us what they think would be a good idea. I guess that's what you are looking for, Uta, right now.
Yeah.
So I have, by the way, I do have two hats here. I'm of course a host of this webinar, but I'm also part of this team. So we have been working with this topic earlier. So this is a continuation, which is part of what Plan for All is doing, using all these hackathons as a continuous development of both collaboration and teams, and of course the topics. So with this, we really hope that we get some input from our African colleagues. We have quite a few registered for the team. Do you have an overview of how many we are, Uta?
Oh, I think 15, maybe.
Yeah,
about 15.
15. Yeah. So it should be possible to do something. But I guess now we have heard an introduction to the topic, to ideas, and the next step. What is the next step? I'm while I'm speaking, you guys, please write questions in the chat or raise your hand if you want to comment and add something here. But meanwhile, Uta, what is the next step for this group?
The next step for this group is to start to cooperate.
Yeah, more concretely, that means.
I introduced many tasks, and I personally start with searching of new data resources. And their processing. So I published in the shared space. I publish also the table, now empty table, or a table with just 2 rows for collecting information on interesting data resources, which could be transformable to smart point of interest. And we try to develop harmonization processes and try to integrate these data to smart point of interest. This will be first task for me, and also for people who want to deal with data. I think that we also need to start the discussion about application. Maybe we will stay just in discussion, and we will discuss ideas and possibilities. Maybe we can start with some development of some prototype. It demand on people interesting in these tasks. Yeah.
Yes. So I think it would be useful for this group that we all of us send you as a mentor some information about our background and where we would like, on your suggested teams or some topics where we would like to work. That would be helpful for you, I guess, to get an overview.
Yes, for sure. But we have this information.
Oh, you have it already. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Also, there is the table with this information in the shared space.
It's already there. Yes. Yeah. So yes. So of course, if you're going to have smart points of interest in Africa, we need some points. So we need some data. That's why you started with the data. Now the question is, immediately, personally, I'm thinking, there must be a great potential for tourism and get information, from on some sort of application that you can easily find interesting places to visit as a tourist. That is not so easy accessible to us otherwise. So that's one application. But Uta, you mentioned to me that tourism is one thing, but you mentioned to me that there might be other applications as well if people are more interested in that.
Yeah, I think that for example, application focused on transportation. Yeah, for example, mapping some road damages, mapping some facilities along the roads. Application focused on environment protection. For example, in Czechia, we are discussing with some subject about mapping caves. With use smart point of interest. And I think that, for example, for Kenya or African countries, should be important mapping, for example, water resources and maybe some pollutions and these things. Yeah.
Absolutely. Sounds very interesting. So it depends, I guess, on this group, what we want to bring up as a potential application area. Now I see that the time, we have passed the half hour that we had to our disposition. So with that, I think, Uta, we will just continue to communicate via the workspace that you have set up. But I guess you will call for a telcall as well to discuss further. This is a webinar with some introduction, but then to have some discussions among the participants. Maybe, are you planning to set up a meeting telco?
To be honest, I don't know, because I don't like telcos very much. I prefer the communication during chat and some shared documents.
Okay.
For me, it's more efficient than talking in telcos.
Yeah, but it might be necessary. Well, so when we start, so you're planning to start with that and see, right?
Maybe for example, telco for the small groups or for really interested people.
Yeah. Okay, so and everything will be posted on the Plan for All website and also on the workspace for this group. So thank you so much, Uta. I'm looking forward to work on this. Actually, it's very exciting. So
thank you very much.
Yeah. So until the next time, bye bye, folks.
Bye bye.